Hey, it's Fanmail Friday, and you asked the following question. Would it be wise to bring back Giolito next year? Can we afford it? We're going to talk about that and more. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. And those watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click that bell to be notified every time a new episode drops.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, we've been fans of this team for years, and we're talking Angels baseball every Monday through Friday on Locked On Angels. Just a quick note. Listen, we're recording this episode of Locked On Angels prior to the Mariners game on Thursday. So you are watching this with knowledge that Mike and I do not have. Look, every time we do this, it's because it's a 4-game weekend set, and we like to recap the entire weekend set in one show, so it's all together. However, I know Ohtani is on the mound on Thursday, and I know that he probably did something spectacular in this game.
Right.
And I know that you're probably here looking for us to respond to that. Don't worry. We will respond to everything on Monday as we recap the entire series against the Mariners. In the meantime, we're going to get into our Fanmail Friday questions. We got some voicemails. We've got some YouTube questions. We've got some Instagram questions. So let's get to all of that. Let's start, Mike, by going to this first voicemail.
Yeah, hello. Thank you. Me and my son started listening to your podcast and really enjoy it so far. And just wondering what's happening and what the progress is with, and if you think that Ben Joyce is going to be back before the end of the season. And I know probably everybody's asking about Mike Trout, so I just wondering when that's going to happen also. And so anyways, my name is Mark from Lompoc up in Santa Barbara County. And appreciate your input. Thank you.
Mark and Lompoc, shout out to you and your son. Thanks for being Locked On Everydayers with us. Santa Barbara County. Mike, I would love to go to Santa Barbara right now. It's so cool up there.
Yep.
The weather's great. So Mark, enjoy yourself up there. Mark is asking about Ben Joyce, Mike Trout, all of the injuries so far. Mike, why don't you start with Ben Joyce?
Yeah, Joyce is on the 60-day IL, and it is retroactive to July 27th. So it was just to clear a 40-man roster spot when they did that. And the potential of him coming back is probably mid-August at the earliest. And I mentioned this on the show before, but we have a friend with Angels Top Plays. His name is Andrew. He's also a doctor, which is convenient. And he actually posted something about Ben Joyce throwing, and him throwing right now is actually a really good sign that everything is progressing well and that he's healthy. So I would say expect him back. Earliest would be maybe mid-August, and having him back in this bullpen with Lopez and Estevez and more, Johnny, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. But just to clarify, he went on the 60-day IL on July 27th, but he originally went on the 10-day IL about a month ago. So that means but when he went on there on the 27th, that's a little bit more time from the 27th. Essentially, it didn't change anything. It just cleared up that roster spot, like you mentioned. Mike Trout took some dry swings this week, which is basically swinging a baseball bat like you do in front of the mirror when you're a teenager and you're like, yeah, look at that stance, right? That's what Mike Trout was doing. He took some dry swings just to see how his hand feels, just to test things out, things like that. They reported yesterday that he'll be hitting off of a tee soon, so he'll actually be making contact with the ball to the bat. There's no definitive timeline. Before the month is over is very likely. When that is, they haven't really said. It would suck to not have him a lot of this month, Mike, given how difficult the schedule is. So that's what's going on with Mike Trout right now. While we're at it, why don't you talk about Brandon Drury, since we're talking about injuries?
Yeah, he's rehabbing in Salt Lake right now, and he actually requested a couple more games because he wanted to get his bat right. They wanted to make sure he was swinging without any pain. And so I love the fact that he actually requested a couple more games.
Yeah.
So he possibly could be back Saturday, maybe Sunday, depending on where the Angels sit. But to have him back in this lineup would be really great.
Yeah, can you imagine having Brandon Drury back in here? And I know, like, you don't think about Brandon Drury on the same level as like Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, but he is such a crucial piece
Yeah.
to this lineup and a highly sought after person in the offseason. And a lot of people were interested in Brandon Drury. And I'm really glad that GM Perry Manassian listened to GM John Frisch and made that signing. Hey, Torrid, one of our favorite listeners on YouTube. He's a Locked On Everydayer, comments very often on YouTube, always part of the conversation. He said, let me ask you guys honestly, not to say it isn't true, but would the players say anything if they didn't endorse Phil Nevin? This is, of course, is going back to our conversation yesterday about what the players had to say about Phil Nevin, according to Sarah Valenzuela's article she wrote for the LA Times. Just wondering what the players would say if they didn't actually like him.
And, it's a great question.
Mike, players have a great way of expressing their feelings without taking like a dig at somebody. And this is all of baseball, not just the Angels, but Here's one of the comments. Obviously, Reed Detmers had great comments about him. Andrew Velasquez had great comments about him. Matt Moore's also great, but this is what I thought was funny. Moore said, Nevin's got his own flavor in today's game.
Yep.
He's always got our backs, and that's something that's up front and center. You can feel it. And a phrase like that, hey, Phil's got his own flair. That's a very careful way of saying Phil is a certain way, and I'm not going to tell you whether I think that's good or bad. And also, he's got our backs, so he did very carefully walk that line of saying something about Phil Nevin. But I thought he did a great job. If the players had anything bad to say, I don't think they'd be interviewed. But Mike, what would they say if there was somebody who didn't really feel Phil Nevin as the manager of this team?
Well, I like what Anthony, or I keep saying Anthony Velasquez, it's Andrew Velasquez. I'm going to call him Squid. I like what Squid had to say because it was really a conversation about Joe Maddon and Phil Nevin and the differences. And so what Squid said was we were a bit aloof with Joe Maddon, which is kind of obvious. That's kind of how he lives his life. It's going to be kind of on the seat of his pants. Think like Robin Williams' Mrs. Doubtfire movie, right? Like that's kind of what the picture I get when I think
Maddon is Robin Williams. I love that.
But I think when it comes to that question, it was particularly about those two managers. I don't know if players are going to come out and verbally bash their manager.
No, they won't.
Phil Nevin being a player's manager and having their backs. I think that they would probably say, we need to do better here, and we need to think about this more. And I think it would be kind of a collective we, when in really actuality, it probably is more of a I. I think that what players could say about Phil Nevin is that it would be good to see decisions made like Estevez coming in the 8th inning against Houston and then not coming in the 9th. I think players could say, I want to be used in a more intentional way. I want to be in for 2 innings in that situation. I think that that's probably what you would hear from players. So instead of saying, Phil, you're an idiot, or Phil, that was dumb, I think that they would probably own it themselves. And I need to communicate to my manager that I want to do this. And we saw that earlier this year with Estevez. He totally. I want him to use me, and I'm going to tell him when I'm not available. And I love that. And it was really Carlos's way of saying that was not a great decision, and I'm going to let Phil know that it wasn't a great decision, and here's the best way forward for me in particular.
You know, one of my favorite interactions was when Josh Donaldson was on the Blue Jays, and I forget who the manager was at the time, but they had a blow up in the dugout. And when the reporters asked Donaldson about it afterward, he said, what were you guys talking about? And Donaldson said, well, he was asking me what kind of brand of cologne I was wearing. And I said, hey man, like, get away from me. You're too close to me. Like, so that's what that was about.
Stop sniffing my neck.
Yeah. Stop sniffing my neck. That's exactly what it was. Hey, the Angels are playing the Mariners tonight again at 6:38 Pacific time. It's Reed Detmers versus Luis Castillo. Catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, what new acquisitions to the team would we want to bring back for next year? Mike and I are going to discuss that coming right up.
Today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. If you're going to be a good team, you need players, and you need players that fit your strategy. They need to be a perfect fit. And the same is when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time that you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With the eBay Guarantee Fit, you can be sure that every part fits just right the first time around. All you do is add your truck or car or ride to the My Garage and then look for the little green check mark. It'll let you know if the part will fit. And if it doesn't, you get your money back, which is a great guarantee. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. So get the right parts and the right fit at the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. The eBay Guarantee Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
You're telling me that you and I could fix our cars with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, and Super Halo Bro Dad would not know the difference? Like, he would be impressed with us for fixing our own vehicles.
That would be a miracle. Thank you, eBay.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Locked On Everydayers, join us on Monday. Again, we're recapping the entire Seattle Mariners series at the Big A on Monday, including last night's game. You're probably here wondering why we're not talking about Shohei's, no-hitter or perfect game
Yeah,
that's 5 home run day. That's always what happens when we try to plan ahead, isn't it? They are playing the Mariners again tonight, 6:38 Pacific time. Catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Johnny, it's Fanmail Friday, and I love when we get voicemails, and this one is from James in Orange County.
Hey, what's up, guys? James from Orange County. I've been wanting to actually call in for a few weeks now to talk about this, but just finally did it right now. So my thoughts are, I'm kind of over giving Anthony Rendon all these chances of he'll get healthy, and then he's going in the lineup. But honestly, I'm just over it. And I want to know what you guys think about in this off season. We have Kyron Paris doing well, and he's one of our top prospects right now. What do you think about the idea of eating Anthony Rendon's contract? We DFA him. We did with Pujols, Upton, all these guys. We're like, hey, we made a mistake. Shouldn't have signed you. Let's eat the money. Let's open a roster spot up. Let's bring up the young guys. Or we do the same thing, DFA him, eat the money up, and go after a free agent. I know Matt Chapman, as much as, maybe we're a little salty with him right now. He's a free agent. I don't know. What do you guys think? What is our solution to third base? I'm just so over Anthony Rendon. I've defended him over and over and over again, and I am done. So, would love to hear what you guys think, and hopefully hear from you soon. Bye.
James from Orange County, thank you for your voicemail. Man, I am so with you on the fact that,
Yes.
we're two who have defended Rendon over and over again and said, look, he had to have hip surgery in 2021. Oh my gosh, you guys, he had to have wrist surgery in 2022. And now here we are again with several injuries over 2023. And it's just like, dude, I can't defend you anymore. I know you're getting hurt, and I know it sucks, and I know getting hurt is not in your control. But even when he was back from the IL in June, Mike, he wasn't doing very well. And prior to that, you and I did the research and said, hey, when Anthony Rendon is playing for this team, he helps this team a lot, especially with runners in scoring position. We've been on that for the last 2 years, but I'm just at a point where I'm like, I don't even think about Rendon anymore. I think about the future of this team without him. I think about the next 2 months of baseball without him, because I don't think that there's a world where he helps this team right now. And if he comes back, great. Sure. Yeah. Plug him in the lineup. Yeah. But Mike, going back to James's question here, eating Anthony Rendon's contract. I think the big difference between when they DFA'd Upton, when they DFA'd Pujols, there was only 1 year left on their contracts.
Right.
Rendon's got 2 more or 3
I think
more?
he's got 3 more. Yeah.
3 more after this year.
Yeah.
So that's, and he's making $38 million a year, I believe. So nearly $100 million that you're going to give up to pay him to play somewhere else. I don't think that that's the solution. James had a couple of ideas here, which included Kyron Paris or going to get Matt Chapman. Mike, I think that in a world where Shohei Ohtani doesn't re-sign with the Angels, you open up a DH spot, and I think that could be Rendon's future because the bat is still there. Obviously, we were really complaining about his defense and the number of errors that he's made and whatnot. I also think DHing him keeps him healthy. But as far as Kyron Paris or Matt Chapman going out and getting him, Barbara from Florida, one of our favorite voicemail callers, she said she'd like to see us bring back Gio Urshela next year. That's also a possibility. What do you think of those three things?
I think the approach that they need to take with Rendon is what they're doing in August and September and October. Is he still on this team? I think that's how they should approach it because
Rendon? Anthony?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's in the back. There he is. I see
There
him.
he is.
I think that's how they should approach it. And I get that it's a lot of money, but we have to remember as fans, it's not our money. And so I get keeping him around because if he miraculously gets healed and he's doing better, he will be an asset to this team. I would plan on having a third baseman. I would plan on moving forward without him being an everyday player. I like Matt Chapman. I just wouldn't want to get into a situation where we're in an Anthony Rendon situation.
He's going to be 30. So
exactly. Yeah. And then Kyron Paris is got a lot of potential, but I think that what we've learned from Perry Manassian is that he wants to run. If he's going to run with young guys, he's going to run with his guys. So don't be surprised if you see Noah Shanuel at third base sometime next year.
Nolan
Shanuel.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if you see him at third base sometime next year. It's simply because he's got a quick bat. He makes contact. I think what this lineup really needs, Johnny, is a Luis Arise type of player, like from the Marlins. Like they need somebody who can make contact and do it often. And I could see Shanuel being somebody who actually does that for this team. So Kyron Paris is a great name, but I would actually not be surprised to see Shanuel jump him and be in this starting lineup maybe at the beginning of the year, if not June or July, and really helping this Angel team.
Maybe they'll learn their lesson from not having Zach Neto on the opening day roster.
Yeah,
with Shanuel, right?
Just
they really
make the move. Just do it. Stop waiting and just do it. Right? You're already losing a ton of money. Lose some more, right? Johnny, how about Maxwell25 on YouTube? He wanted to know our thoughts on possibly re-signing Giolito in the offseason. He did say, I know he had an uncharacteristic start, but I would love to see this veteran experience in our rotation with Sandy and Detmers being inconsistent. Is it possible to re-sign him? And do we have the money? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's very possible to re-sign Lucas Giolito. One thing, and this is getting into a personal avenue, but we have seen the way that personal stuff can affect players, like Josh Hader last year, whose wife, I believe, had a baby, but then there were some complications. And when he got to San Diego, he really struggled. And a lot of that was because of what was on his mind in his real life.
Yep.
Lucas Giolito just announced his divorce, weirdly enough, during the Home Run Derby on Instagram.
That's right.
And while that's really hard for somebody to go through, and then now he was traded to the Angels, he's moving his life to somewhere else. I think it's a good thing for him to be back home in Southern California near his family, especially having gone through the ending of his marriage, right? I think maybe the best thing he could do is be closer to family. So I think on the personal level, I think that would be incentive to sign with the Angels. Now, on the business side of things, he's making $10.5 million this season. And based on where other starters might get in the offseason, it looks like it might be an $18 million a year to a $22 million a year kind of contract for Lucas Giolito. The Angels, I won't say can we even do it, because the Angels can always do it. They have the money. They can spend it. They just choose not to. So if you frame it in the sense of, would they choose to give Giolito that money? I think they would, but it all, again, depends on what happens with Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
However, they are going to need another arm in this rotation. I think that there is a world where they can bring back Giolito because of all of the circumstances. I think it's a great move. I think I would love to see him back in this rotation and be part of it for a good couple years. And again, he's a SoCal guy. I think he would want to be home here. Mike, Armani C23 on Instagram said, realistically, what needs to be the Angels record for the rest of August? Why don't you hit us with that?
All right. So there's there's 25 games left in August, and that was before the Mariners game on Thursday. Just a reminder, we're recording this before that. And so the Angels, as of this recording, are 0-2 in August, which means that they would probably have to go around 14-9 in August to get to 70 wins to start September. We've talked about that 15-win mark. September 1st through October 1st is a much easier schedule, Johnny, than the one that
August.
we're currently in. The easiest series in September, we have 6 games against the A's, 4 against Cleveland. We've got 3 more against the Mariners, 3 more against Detroit, 3 more against the Twins. The hardest series will be Baltimore, Tampa, and Texas. And what the Angels have done is that they've really taken advantage of those lesser difficult series. Like they swept Detroit, which gave us a winning record on the road trip, even though we lost 2-3 to the Blue Jays and to the Braves. So, Johnny, I think it would be logical for the Angels to get to about 14 wins this month. And I think in September, they could really stack the wins if they take advantage of these games against these less difficult teams, although sometimes playing the A's, they just find a way to at least get one of the 3 games over the weekend series.
They beat the Braves more than we did this season.
Right. Yeah.
But Mike, you're right. I think if they can go 14-9 the rest of this month and get themselves to 70 wins, I think if you look at August, anything 14 and above is going to be a huge win.
Absolutely.
For the Halos, because in September, I mean, at the max, maybe you take 20 in September.
Yeah.
Maybe like that would be the pinnacle. That would be the best possible thing for the Angels in September. But to get there, you've got to get 14 wins or above for the rest of the month of August.
John, I'm going to go back to my DJ days. Hey, let's go back to the phone lines and see who's calling. It's Cody from Riverside. I loved this voicemail.
Yeah, friends, that was an actual real thing that happened. Mike was on the radio. Yep.
Hey, Mike and John, this is Cody out of Riverside. I'm calling to thank you guys for being my first listen of the day. On Sunday, I leave for military orders. I'll be gone for a while, and I'm looking forward to listening to your podcast on where I'm at. Keep me updated for the Angels, and unfortunately I won't be able to watch any of the games, but I am going to the game on Friday before I leave. So let's go Angels. Hopefully we can make a playoff push, and once again, I just wanted to thank you guys for all you guys do. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
Cody,
great.
thank you, man, for serving our country and being part of the military. Like, that is so honorable, so brave. So thank you for being part of that and giving Mike and I the freedom and the right to do this silly show for you to listen to Monday through Friday. We really appreciate that. And again, you know what's interesting, Mike? I'm so glad that he'll be able to listen to us while he is, on military orders.
Yep.
I also wonder, are you allowed to watch baseball while you're on military orders? Maybe that's part of it. Maybe there's like a restriction there, but should you get the opportunity to watch, get that discounted MLB TV streaming plan for the rest of the season. Usually by this time of the season, it's massively discounted from the whole year. So especially if you're not in California and you're able to watch the Angels
you'll be able to watch the Angels.
You'll actually be able to watch the games.
No
blackout restrictions. So maybe he's talking about the rules of, where he's going. He's not allowed to watch the games. But if you do get a chance to watch the games, Cody, again, take advantage of that discount when it comes to MLB TV so you can finish out the season watching the Halos. And if that doesn't work, we're here for you every Monday through Friday. We'll be your first listen every single day for you, man. So thank you again for your voicemail. Thanks for the encouraging words, and best of luck to you. We're thinking of you, man.
Yeah, that's great. And we'll give you a detailed recap if you can't watch. So
yes,
glad to have you here. Johnny, one last question from Ruben Rosas on Instagram. Which of the new acquisitions would you bring back next year? Johnny, immediately, based off of what we've seen so far, I would bring back Reynaldo Lopez. I love that guy in the bullpen. I love that guy in the bullpen. And to have somebody like that we have Estevez for one more year, I would love to have that as a 1-2 punch. So immediately, that guy would be back. And Johnny, I would even consider bringing back, we already talked about Giolito. I think I would love to have him back.
I think we're both in agreement on Giolito.
Yes.
Yeah.
Johnny, I think I would consider bringing back CJ Cron to play first base. I like his defense over there, and I love his bat, and hopefully he'll heat up a little bit, but I'm not opposed to seeing him come back. I wish we never traded him away, and he ended up having a pretty great career. I'd love to see him back there, mainly because he plays really great defense, and I don't want to see somebody over there that isn't really a first baseman. I would love to see a legit first baseman over there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you on Cron. I guess if I'm going to pick somebody who, again, we've already talked about Giolito, we've talked about Ronaldo Lopez and CJ Cron. Mike, I honestly, maybe Mike Moustakas, just because of what he has brought to this club.
Yeah.
Not just on the field, but in the locker room. What a huge difference he's made for the players, especially the young guys who get to be around him, like Zach Neto and Logan O'Hoppe. He's made a really good impression on them. And in the short time that he's been here, he's made me forget about how much he hurt us during the playoffs and as a Kansas City Royal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect to re-sign him for another year and then have him play every single day. I don't think I would want to see that.
It's a depth piece, but he probably would play more often than not, but he would be a depth piece for sure.
Yeah, and he's a lefty bat. You can put him at first. You can put him at third. He's played second as recently as this year, I believe, and even a lot with the Reds in the last couple of years. So you're right. Total depth piece. But I think he brings a really good veteran experience to this team, a veteran presence, kind of what we wanted with Pujols and Upton and you name it. And we wanted it and didn't get it. And we tried it. Didn't work. So I think Moustakas coming in and firing up these guys. Why not give him another round next year? Sign him to a deal that's affordable. If it doesn't work out and you need to make space, you can say bye-bye. But at the same time, I think he brings a lot of value, a lot of unseen value to the team that you and I could never comprehend. But we're getting bits and pieces of that as people speak about him and speak about the locker room. So I think that he would be somebody I would love to see come back at least for one more year next season.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels play the Seattle Mariners tonight at 6:38. They're at home. Cody's going to be there. You should hang out with Cody or at least try to find him. And you can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, thanks to everybody who sent in their questions via voicemail or through our messages or on Instagram. We really appreciate that. Give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Mike, what do we have on deck for Monday?
We're going to recap all 4 of these games against the Mariners and talk about the details and what was great and what wasn't so great. And we're going to include that Thursday night game as well. So you'll get our thoughts about that game and all games over the weekend on Monday on Locked On Angels.
Don't forget too, on Thursday night's game, we'll have our post-game 60-second video.
Yes.
Obviously. So you'll if you miss that somehow, make sure you check that out. In the meantime, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Monday.